Hi there. This is the Travel Leader Podcast, and I am happy to welcome today Gary Jamison from the Lowe's Vanderbilt Hotel in Nashville, Tennessee. I had the opportunity this past June, to go to the Vanderbilts in Nashville, and while Gary and I didn't have a chance to meet while I was there, I definitely saw him in action, and we had some follow-up conversation by LinkedIn about my amazing experience at the hotel where he is the chief concierge. So Gary, happy to have you here today.
Well, good morning. Rachel, thank you for those kind words. I want everybody to always have a great time at the Lowe's, and I'm so glad you did, and I'm honored to be a part of this today.
Awesome. Well, welcome. So by way of introduction, let's just start with what has been the red thread throughout your hospitality career?
I would think attitude, and I'm saying attitude as Zig Ziglar used to define it, as inner reflection of outward character. So a good concierge will always try to make the magic. And I've been doing this for a few decades, and you try to make every guest experience as positive as you can. And I think I've tried to take that with me throughout my career.
Yeah. So can you say a little bit more about this idea of attitude? What does that mean in a little bit more in the day-to-day?
Well, the day-to-day, as a concierge, you're going to be asked many times to do things, and as long as they are ethical, not illegal, or not immoral, you try to make it happen. You make the magic. Magic is energy and intent, and it takes a lot based on where you are and what you're asked to do to make that happen. So therefore, when I say attitude, you got to go to work every day thinking this is a fresh day, a new start with new guests. And can you still bring that same attitude to your work, whatever it is?
Yes. And I love how you brought up the things that you also may choose not to do for your guests.
Mm-hmm.
And really that you have to use a kind of moral compass as well. I'm sure I could just imagine the kinds of requests that you've gotten over the years.
Over the years, I've had someone just as bluntly ask me, hey, where can I get drugs? Do you help people get drugs? And the answer is, no, I'm not a drug dealer. And then I've had gentlemen who asked me, Gary, can you find me a woman or get me girls? I said, no, I'm not a pimp. I'm a concierge. Right. You want dinner reservations? Yes. Good tickets to attractions? Yes. These other things you need to figure out on your own.
Yes. And it sounds like it's also a matter of like your inner integrity as well.
Well, I want to represent, and I've worked in some, different hotels, and I want to represent any place that would hire me with 110% of character, integrity, honesty. So I would never want to have something come back. And what people don't realize, if I were to send someone, let's say, to go get drugs, and something happened to that person, he told me to go over here and get drugs. No, I did not. So you have to understand your own personal moral compass and your personal liability. I would never send a person to get hurt or robbed in any situation.
Yeah, absolutely. So what impact are you striving to have on the industry?
Well, the industry has an impact on me. Being a concierge, I take as a badge of honor. I had a trainer once talk about one-way love like an owl, and that always struck with me. If you can love your guest, I'm gonna give you a quick example. I was working at a hotel, and I had a couple Kate and Matthew. They had a wonderful, wonderful time. And Kate was so insistent that I should marry them. And I'm like, well, concierge is not like a ship captain. You don't have the authority to marry anyone. But she was very, very determined. They like to live in Rhode Island. I'm here in Nashville, Tennessee. So they actually here in January. They had a wedding planned for July. So by July, Kate had convinced me that I need to be ordained, which I did become ordained. I flew to Rhode Island and I performed a wedding, nervously, but very happily, to be a part of them sharing their love, but to have a connection that someone, because I gave them good recommendations here in Nashville and they had a wonderful time here, wanted me to be a part of their love story. So that's just an example of what you want to have, that connection, that positivity, that impact. So that's just a small example.
Wow. Talk about going above and beyond as well. That's pretty amazing that you went there to do that.
My word counts. And if I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. I was, nervous and excited at the same time, flying to Narragansett, Rhode Island. I had to look on the map like, okay, where is this place? Oh, okay. Rhode Island is up there. Okay. So, but they're still married, by the way. I always check in on people. I've since married a few more couples, and I always check in on people. I said, well, make sure they're doing well. So
that is so awesome. So I'm really curious about, you mentioned that having that connection with the guests, and this is connection. This is like such a great story of connection. What do you think attracted the bride to be, to feel that connection with you so much so that she wanted you to officiate their wedding?
You're going to think this is crazy. I'm a grandmother raised Southern gentleman. My grandmother was Marie Jamison. Kate's middle name was Marie. We got to talking about that. And she felt, I don't know how, I tell people, if you talk to me long enough, you're going to hear some Marie Jamison. I am her grandson. And true, that was that connection. And hopefully I gave them good recommendations for dinner and attractions in Nashville, so they had a really nice time too. The concierge part of me, but the personal part, her we talked about middle name, about Marie Jamison, and that was, I think, a super connection, as simple as that seemed, with the same first name and middle name.
Yeah. Yeah, I love how that, that idea of really relating to someone, from a personal side, and that you're bringing that to your work.
I do every day. I want a person to experience Nashville through my eyes, and I've been here since 1963. It's changed a lot, but musically, culturally, culinary, I always ask people, how do you want to experience Nashville? And hopefully I can help navigate and guide them through that, the Nashville experience.
Yeah, that's awesome. Amazing. So how would someone who works closely with you describe you?
I would hope they would say that I'm dependable. If I tell you I'm going to be there, I will. If I tell you I'm going to do it, I've done it and will do it. I think dependability is your word is a very important part of not only being a concierge, being a good coworker or a good colleague. Your word should be your bond.
Yeah. So what else, this idea of dependability, and that's how people, would characterize you. What else is really, you think, important about that as a leader in your hotel?
I think every person is a leader. I don't think you have to, have the title. I've worked with some amazing individuals, from banquet services to front desk. You lead by doing. As they always used to say many years ago, those who can do. In this day and age, I think many workplaces are having people who not been able to perform up to the level of expectancy. And so I think when you can find colleagues and you can show them that they can depend on you, you also depend on them. It's a cumulative collective. I've had many times, talking about me being dependable, I'm human, I make mistakes. I had booked a lady in once. I booked it. She was trying to prepare for her daughter's 21st birthday, and I told her about bringing alcohol. They had rented out a meeting room, and I told her about bringing the alcohol. And I wasn't thinking about till my banquet supervisor came to me about, they can't serve alcohol from the meeting room because we have a liquor license. That's got to be a hotel employee. I'm like, uh-oh. And they came from Ohio. They brought a ton of people, probably about 40 rooms, and they had a lot of alcohol. And there was going to be a little situation that I had told her. But depending on my team, who decided, okay, what we can calm some champagne in the meeting room and have our bartender. They had enough hotel rooms, they had enough suites where they can actually they can serve the alcohol out of their suites.
Right.
That won't be in violation of the liquor law. But that was something that never occurred to me. But my teammates, my colleagues, my coworkers made sure that they saved the day, and I wasn't, thrown under the bus. And it was really wonderful. It worked out well. The daughter had a wonderful 21st birthday, and everybody was happy, and I didn't get the hotel in trouble by saying they could have alcohol in the meeting room that was not served by us. So that's dependability. It's not one way, it's a two-way accountability.
Yeah, and I love the other things that come out of that example, that, dependability, it doesn't, even if things don't turn out exactly as they first expected, dependability is also about following through from a big picture commitment to that person.
Very big picture. Very big picture. And I had to own it. I'm like, oh my, it never occurred to me. And I told you can bring the alcohol, sure, put it in the meeting room, sure, it's no problem, sure. And I'm like, oh. So it was watching my colleagues and coworkers say, don't worry about it, Gary, we'll navigate through this together. And that's that dependability. People, you rely on you rely on others.
Yes, absolutely. It's not, that two-way, like you said. It's not just one way, for sure. Absolutely. So, making a little bit of a transition here to a deeper philosophical question, what makes your life and work meaningful to you?
I think work-life balance. I'm blessed. My birthday is on Valentine's Day, so I've learned now to take my birthday off. But being in the hotel world, I work many Christmas, many Thanksgiving, New Year's, July 4th. Okay, that's no big deal. But I have learned for my work-life balance, I take my birthday off. I make sure I'm able to go and travel and do something, to celebrate that. And I think that's a great key. I don't know if you ever saw the movie The Bucket List with Jack Nicholson and Morgan Freeman.
I've been wanting to watch that, so it's on my list.
Well, put it on your bucket list. Well, there's one beautiful scene. Morgan Freeman explains a lot to Jack Nicholson. Jack has the money, Morgan has a lot of knowledge, and they happen to be in Egypt at the pyramids. And Morgan explained to Jack that the ancient Egyptians had a belief that before you got to the afterlife, they will ask you two questions. Question one, did you find joy during your life? Question two, did you bring joy to others? And that really impacted me. I thought, wow, what a beautiful, though it's a movie, cinematic teaser, but I said, what a beautiful concept. And I want to think that overall in life, I brought more joy. And I found more joy. I certainly have in 63 years, but hopefully I've shared that joy to others. And I think that's a wonderful legacy.
Oh, that is, I love every piece of that. And by the way, my mom also has her birthday on Valentine's Day.
Good Aquarian.
Yeah,
a very good Aquarian. No doubt.
Yeah, so that's a special day. So yeah, I can relate to the work-life balance. topic, I think it's talked about a lot. What I love to hear it also coming from a man, because I typically hear it talked about a lot amongst women leaders. But it's really is fundamental in that meaning is really comes from that balance in life and the joy that you mentioned, and it's not all about work.
It can't be. I'm not going to follow, Bill Gates or Elon Musk for working zillion hours and trying to move their companies around the world. That's great. But I think in the day-to-day here in the typical United States, you need to find some time to do something that you enjoy that's not work-related. We used to be able to take a 2-week vacation. It was a real live vacation. Now wherever you are, you're going to be emailed, you're going to be texted, you're going to be Zoom, Instagram, so you don't really get the chance to unplug for 2 weeks, maybe not even for a week anymore. And that's just the nature of how, I guess, society, the workplace has changed.
Yeah, absolutely. It takes a lot of self-discipline and consciousness and mindfulness to really connect to that joy and remind yourself of how important that is, for sure. Wise words there. That's
great
things.
movie. You would do yourself a favor. Watch The Bucket List. Yes.
Yes, I'm gonna do that for sure. So, when have you underestimated yourself?
I think when I first knew that I had the concierge mindset, I was working actually in a little hotel in Florida, a small town called Stuart, Florida. It's a retiree community. You have less than 100 rooms at this hotel called the Howard Johnson. Hojo's is a brand that people don't see anymore. At one point in American history, a really strong brand, but these days it's hard to find. So I was actually working the night audit shift. In a small hotel with less than 100 rooms, when you get fully occupied, when you get all the vacancies done, you put a sign on the door, an old school sign on the door, no vacancies, you lock the door. So I was doing the night audit. I was waiting on one more room to come in. And once the person comes in, I like to her, this one I remember this so vividly. Her name was Johnson, like the hotel, Howard Johnson. So she checks in, goes to her room, I lock the door, I'm doing the night audit, I'm preparing for the breakfast bar the next morning. It's going to be, real simple experience. And the phone rings probably about 20 minutes after she checks in and said, has Miss Johnson checked in? I said, oh, sure, let me ring the room. I don't think she's had a chance to, be to go to sleep yet. And they said no. And I'm like, uh-oh. And they said, no, we've got some very, very tragic news for her, and we wanted someone to be in the room with her. Now, I'm the only hotel employee. I'm working the front desk. I'm doing the night audit, setting up the breakfast bar. I'm thinking, okay, so the news, and then she told me that her son had been killed in an automobile accident.
Oh.
And so I'm thinking like, I'm the only one in this hotel. And boy, you're talking about, not I want to underestimate myself, but it's like, okay, what do I do next? I said, well, for me to transfer this call to the room, and then I've got to, run around the counter and get to the room. I said, listen, let's do it this way. Since I've got this breakfast bar stuff up, I'm gonna put some towels, the breakfast bar stuff, and just tell her that she can have breakfast in her room, which is why when I transfer the call, you talk about that. That gives me a chance to get to the room and knock on the door and, bring in the towels and the breakfast supplies. And then you can tell her why I'm there in the room with her. And don't get me wrong, my stomach is jumping through knots. I'm like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
But I'm here. And so it's up to me to, do the best that I can. And so I prepare the breakfast and I prepare the towels. And I say, all right, now I'm going to transfer the call. And I transfer the call, and I go to the room. I knock on the door. I said, your family member just told me to bring this in. I'm going to set it up over here. And she said, okay, go ahead and set it up. And when they told her, the scream was, I can still hear the scream. And, she just looked at me. I gave her a brief hug. She's on the phone with them. I just let myself out of that room, thinking to myself, like, wow, I wish it was more And working the PBX, you can, in old school style, I can look at the light and see if she's on the phone. They probably talked for about an hour. Then she hung up and called me and said, make sure she had the wake-up call, because my little town of Stewart didn't have an airport. She'd come from West Palm Beach. That's about 40 miles away. She wanted to get up early to get back, to get a flight. And I made sure that the wake-up call was in. I made sure she got up early before the call. She was down at the desk. She thanked me. I saw her off. It was just, I won't say underestimated myself, but you're talking about something like, boy, I hope to God I was able to provide a little comfort in that scenario, in that situation. So I don't know about underestimating myself, but boy, I felt, that was like wow, I'll never forget those feelings of, you can say I'll offer you my condolences, but, that's just words.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I think what that story illustrates is that, that feeling of underestimation and, it's also like self-doubt comes from situations that are thrown at you that you've never been in before. And what I love about the story is that, and your experience is that, how thoughtful you were about, okay, I'm feeling a lot of self-doubt about how I'm going to handle this, but these are my thoughts, and this is what I can do in this moment to, be there, as some kind of physical and emotional presence for someone who has just received the worst news of their life.
Worst day of their life, no question. And you're thinking, you got to be a part of this. And, you sign up. I told you, you're the only employee at that particular time in the hotel. So you're a security, you're a maintenance, you are wearing multiple hats, a small hotel. But you wear those hats to the best of your ability, and you show up and you do what you can do.
Yeah.
And that's just, so that's one of those things.
Yeah, I mean, I think as well what it shows is that while we may have those self-doubts in those situations, that we're really capable of so much more than we think we are.
Always. You have to do. You don't have time not to do. This is a hotel, people depending on you to keep them safe, to protect them. So you have a lot of responsibility. A lot of times it's not really seen. You don't know, but like I said, when you have a guest, when they go to bed at night, they go to sleep, they expect to have a certain amount of protection from any type of violence or any type of natural disaster like a fire. So they expect you to be, someone should be on duty, someone should be watching their back.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, what it also makes me think of and reminds me is that, we're not just providing hotel rooms and service, but the extent to which being in a hotel environment and that proximity to people's lives, how much of a role, like we're there, sometimes we're like, so we're invisible, and people, you go about your business, you provide all the services and the product of the hotel room and the restaurant and those kinds of things, and guests come and go without there being much of a connection. But there's also these situations where there's just so much more of a role that we're playing in the story of people's lives. So I just commend you so much for stepping up to the plate in a very difficult situation. I'm sure that's obviously stuck with you.
It did. That was almost back in the 1999, I should say. So it's impactful, and some some guests are more impactful, some situations are more impactful. But that's one of those that made me know, okay, you can do this, no doubt.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for sharing that. That's a pretty deep experience. So, Yeah, I mean, this example you just gave, I mean, my next question is, what event has shaped you as a leader? That was clearly one, but are there other examples you have of things that have shaped you?
Well, sure. As a concierge, you're part of having a gentleman call us. He was coming from Atlanta. I'm working at the JW Marriott at the time. He was trying to figure out a way to propose. So you're working on a proposal. So you try to make sure you can set everything up correctly, the good location, the good time, because everything you're setting up, the bottom line is you want her to say yes. This is operation for her to say yes. So when you can set that up, went through a few different locations that I thought would be good here in Nashville. We've got a beautiful place in Nashville called the Arrington Vineyards. And one of the prettiest places probably in Nashville or even the state of Tennessee. So you set things up and you put things in place. And when he did, pop the question, she did say yes. So those type of events are always great. You feel good because you've able to enhance and share in someone's true happiness. So that's very, very memorable always.
Yeah. Yeah, what I'm hearing there is just, that events like those can really impact you in the way that you feel like you're making an impact and that you're achieving a result that was set out as a goal, which is in this case to get someone to say yes.
A very important goal. And, you always want to make sure, like, oh boy, did we do everything? Did we, cross all the T's? Did we dot all the I's? Did we check the boxes? And you make sure of that. And it's amazing. They actually, they were big on Jason Isbell. I think he was doing a residency at the Ryman. His wife is Amanda Shires. So we had them front row tickets. We did some things that allowed them to build. I was under grace builds on nature. So there's a progression in most things about life. Beside us, our building blocks, we crawl, we walk, we run. But there is a progression. So we're able to, take that. It's not just one event. See, that's what people, sometimes you kind of get lost in the minutia, but it's not just one. It's like, oh, okay, she had from the couples massages and all the things that we did. So it built up to that. So that's when you have to really make sure you're on point and like, all right, did I get that done? Did I get that done? Did I get that done?
Yeah.
So.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So, we have gone through so much change in the last 3-4 years, and it seems like change is just happening more and more rapidly. What do you think are the competencies that leaders need to face this next era of change?
I mentioned all that the JW. Well, I got furloughed from the JW because of COVID. COVID, I think, changed much about our society. It changed much about the world. The word Zoom, before COVID, no one knew what a Zoom call was. So
right.
I think that adaptability now, not just in the hospitality world, I think in all careers, all jobs, that taught us something. It surprised me. I think it surprised everyone else, from presidents to mayors, governors. So I think the key word is adaptability. One of my dear friends, she works at a distillery called Old Smoky Yeehaw. It's a distillery, they make moonshine. And what they did, and many other distillers, I don't know if you know, they pivoted from making alcohol to making hand sanitizer. And I was thinking, like, wow, that was really, you're talking about being adaptable. That was really, and she actually took the time to bring me hand sanitizer to my home. She's a great, great, great person. Her name is Taylor. Taylor Morgan, quick shout out, Old Smoky Yeehaw. But realizing I never would occur to me that a distillery could make hand sanitizer, and other distilleries did that too. So I think that's an old military adage about adapting, overcoming, improvising. But I think COVID made it much more for everybody to do,
Absolutely.
not just in hospitality.
Yeah, that I mean, you hit the nail on the head with that one. I mean, being able to adapt is something that's a skill. Everyone, every individual and business is going to have to really make part of their superpowers. And I love that example of turning to a different product during that time. And,
it was amazing. It was amazing,
Yeah.
but just that shows you I was the world was going through changes, not just the country, not just our little state.
Yeah,
the whole world.
Yeah, something similar happened here this past week. We had flooding in Vermont in different areas of the state, and my town of Stowe was really fine because we're higher elevations and we've been really, really fortunate. But there's towns nearby that have been just really devastated by the flooding, and one of the towns, their water treatment center was impacted, and they had no drinkable water.
Oh, God
So
bless. That is.
Yeah.
Oh, that's horrific.
Yeah, so all of the grocery stores obviously sold out of water immediately, and so one of the local cider, apple cider facilities, they decided they got water from fresh water from another a hard cider facility.
Mm-hmm.
They transported the water to their bottling station, and were able to use their cider jugs, like their gallon cider jugs, and they packaged water and then sent out a pallet of gallons of water to this nearby town. And a
Wow.
brewery did it too. They had cans of water. They already had the cans, so they used fresh water and then canned water and sent over a pallet of water.
Wow.
Yeah.
That house, you have to come together. In the hospitality world, we do come together, but it's nice seeing us come together as citizens of this world.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, I think that those examples point out another piece of this, which is that to really create better futures, we also have to realize that boundary between like companies and community, that line is closer than we think, and whatever way we can adapt and also relate to our communities and help our communities. Unfortunately, there's a lot of challenging things that are happening, whether it's natural disasters and epidemics, and so that seems to me also another really key piece of leadership is how are you working with your community? How are you supporting your community in very trying times like these?
That is so true. I'm really lucky to be at the Lowe's. They've got a lot of initiatives, which I think are really wonderful. They do something with the Humane Society. They have a lot of good neighbor programs. I'm going to get them to do a blood drive. I'm a big donor. The American Red Cross, I donate every 2 months, in fact. So I'm going to get that on the calendar to get that done one of these days.
That's great. That's awesome. So, what is your leadership edge?
Probably being my grandmother's grandson, and I talked about being Marie Jamison's grandson, but she'd always instilled in me that every day is good, some days are better, and to have that belief that I can make a difference in some shape, way, form. And I saw her do that with her life, and so that's a lasting impact on me. And so I want to think you're talking about an edge. I know she's always watching me, so when I screw up, I gotta admit it. But also, when I do well, I know she's proud of me. So
Yeah,
that edge.
Yeah, absolutely. That is sorry, I had a little bit of distraction. The plumber came in to fix our hot water here.
Oh, you need hot water? That's important.
Sorry, I am, yes, agency and the ability to affect your surroundings. What an important lesson you've learned from your grandmother.
Take it with me every day.
Yeah. I mean, I think that there's so much, it can be very easy in the world today to feel really hopeless and to feel like, well, what is it going to matter if I do this, or, if I'm not going to be able to change anything. And if we have that kind of attitude, our world's in even a lot more trouble.
We are a lot more powerful than we realize, and we can do a lot more good than we've been told. So you have to be able to go in there with a little bit of optimism, that hopeful optimism, that knowing that you're going to make a difference.
Yes. Yep. Absolutely. For sure. How do you want to be remembered?
That I did my best, that I made you smile, I made you laugh. That to me is a great legacy, I believe. That, okay, you didn't see me because I knew that I was going to give you the best version of Gary Stefan Jamison I could give you. And in thought, word, and deed, and whatever we were doing, I wanted, hopefully everyone knew that, felt that, experienced that. And that's what I would love my legacy to be.
Yes, absolutely. And, I mean, that speaks to my experience of, at the Lowe's, that even though you and I didn't speak, I felt your presence, because I walked by your desk a number of times and I saw you at work, and I had that in my head, and I knew exactly who you were when we connected on LinkedIn, even though we never exchanged words.
Well, that's a blessing. That shows you how life happens as it should. I've always believed that.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna put another question in here, because we're talking about the Lowe's. I was really just blown away by that total experience, and I came into so many of your colleagues in contact with them, and just one after another, providing just incredible service, and the hotel itself was also just beautiful and a great experience. I'm curious, what do you think makes that all come together? Especially when it comes to a leadership standpoint. Can you say something about that?
Sure, I can. Like I said, I've been a veteran of the hotel world, and have worked at different brands. But I had the best first day experience at the Lowe's than I've ever had in any hotel. True story. And that starts from the top. Our general manager is a gentleman named Hugh Anderson. Outstanding. And he sets the tone for everybody else. You're talking about servant leadership. He actually takes the time, multiple times during the year, he will cook for us. He actually cooked this pancake breakfast with the best pancakes. We've got a little shop here in Nashville called the Pancake Pantry that's been making pancakes since 1961. There are two of them, in fact, one in downtown and one in Hillsborough Village. Wonderful pancakes. They have nothing on Hugh's pancakes. His are delicious. He did some barbecue that would make Jack's Barbecue or Martin's Barbecue, our historic great barbecue joints, envious.
Wow.
So he takes the time to show his love for the employees, which allows the employees to show that one-way love to the guests. And so I think it starts from the top down. But everybody, from my first day, it was like being a family. True, yeah. I've never felt, and I've worked in some, really nice hotels with some really nice coworkers. but here's is another level.
Yeah, amazing. Well, I felt that. I felt that for sure. It definitely trickles down.
It certainly does.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. So, if you had everything you needed, what vision in your life would you pursue?
I'm doing it now. I'm a concierge at a wonderful, wonderful hotel. I had the pleasure of meeting a gentleman named John Robert Wooden. Coach Wooden coached at UCLA from 1948 to 1975. In fact, I met him on April the 30th, 1988 at a coaching clinic in Memphis, Tennessee. I love Coach Wooden. Coach Wooden developed this wonderful pyramid of success. If you've ever seen it, I would tell everyone, Google the pyramid of success. But the way Coach Wooden defines success is peace of mind in the self-satisfaction, knowing that you did the best that you could to become the best person you're capable of becoming. That's all I needed. And since many years, even before meeting him, I've utilized that definition of success. So I'm very at peace with whom I am and what I have done and what I hope to still do. So the peace of mind, that self-satisfaction. So I love doing it.
You know, what I'm hearing from that is that, success and some, the future achievement, it's not really about that. It's about what you have right now in this moment and gratitude for all that you have in this moment.
Very grateful for what I've done. Very grateful.
Yeah, and the other part of it is that, we get our minds set so much on results and outcomes, and what I'm hearing is how important the effort is and what you're putting into it. That in itself is a great success.
It is. It is. I've learned to believe that for many, many years.
Yeah, great. Well, Gary, this has been a very lovely conversation, and just in terms of personal connection, you have brought me joy in this conversation, and in the same conversation, almost to tears, with your stories and experiences, and that's why I love doing these conversations with people like you. So thank you so much.
I'm honored. Thank you for blessing me. Tell your mom, celebrate Valentine's Day always. Tell her I said, happy early birthday.
I will. Is there anything else you want to share with us today?
Thank you very much. You just made this is going to be an outstanding day for me, so you don't know, but I can't wait to get to work, and I'm already energized and ready to go at it. But, like every day, I wake up in that morning, I count my blessings, and you do those things, and you have a good day. So you made it a great day, and I thank you for having me.
The feeling is mutual.
And I hope
have a good one.
I hope our paths cross again.
Yes. Oh, yeah, for sure. This has been the Travel Leader Podcast with Gary Jamison. Thanks so much for joining us.
Bye.